Hey, friends, and welcome to this live. I'm excited that you're here today, and we will be talking about the subject that was brought up in the comments last time. And it was about how to sell your work when you are in a space where you talk about your services, where it's whether it's a Facebook group or perhaps it's something else that another maybe a language exchange, and you would like to talk about your product, your program, and maybe your services, and you don't know how to bring it up, and whether you will freak people out, how to go about this, how to make it actually sound more natural, and how to um, make impact through that. So, but first of all, I would like to invite you because our community for online language teachers called the Smart Teachers Library is now open. It's a wonderful space for online language teachers to do just that, collaborate, work on projects together, find new audiences, and then talk about your work outside of your immediate circles. One of the things that I have noticed with teachers and actually interacting with the comments in the previous live a week ago, where we talked about, um, I forget what we talked about now. Drawing a blank. But anyway, one of the things that came up was just this whole struggle with the language learning platforms and how being on a platform is so um, uh, like there's a lot of struggle with that. And I realized that when we are trying so hard to bring more leads. Thank you. Thank you. Somebody check that. Yeah, so when we're trying so hard to do something on our own, but we're still in a platform and we are really frustrated, we can't leave. I noticed that a lot of teachers sometimes tend to like get into this position of like, well, but this platform is not doing, good things for me, or this platform is not helping me out. And then we put a lot of energy and pour a lot of energy onto how to change the platform so it works for me. Instead, we can move away from the platform and do something for ourselves. And today we are going to learn how to do that. Because most of the teachers, when they work one-on-one on the platform and then they start working on their own, they discover the same thing. They can't sell their lessons, they can't sell their programs, they can't sell their products, and they don't know why. They don't know how to do that. They start looking for secret sauce. And very soon Facebook advertisers find them. And sometimes it's good if you find a good product, somebody teaching you how to, actually solve this problem. There are lots of times where people teach you something that you don't necessarily need, like, for example, how to create an online course. Because when you're struggling with something, the last thing you want is to create something else. You want to learn to focus on what you have. So if you are learning or moving away from italki or Preply, and what is the first thing that you want to do that is going to be really helpful? Well, number one is to recognize that you now are a business owner and you are solely responsible for your own students, for finding students, for looking for students, for creating the money or bringing in revenue in one way or another. You are responsible for it. Nobody else. Not Facebook algorithm that shows or doesn't show your posts. Not people that are sharing or not sharing your services, right? Word of mouth. Not a platform that is not providing enough for you, right? You are now responsible. This is so shocking to think about it, but we avoid this responsibility. That's why we spend so many years on platforms where we don't even like how the platform is, but we feel like we're stuck. And that is a position of a victim. You feel like you're stuck and you have no choices. That is a position of a victim, and you will not be able to do anything about it until you say, yeah, I think I can. It's going to be difficult. There will be a price to pay. Sometimes we want this transition to be smooth because we don't want to deal with the discomfort that we will experience when we move from a place where some other platform is bringing us clients, right? To maybe not, to a place where we are solely responsible. Sometimes we want to continue being kids. We want to continue somebody else, to wait for somebody else to come and solve our issues. So this idea of ownership is paramount for anything you want to change in your business, in your life. Um, you are the one responsible. I am the one responsible for my business. You are the one responsible for your business. When people say, well, but I don't have the money to invest in myself, the question is, who is responsible, right? You have options and you can make changes in your business, and you are the only person to be able to do that. And when you move away, and that kind of responsibility is sometimes so, and freedom is sometimes so overwhelming that people can't handle it. And that's why we go back to a platform that supposedly is helping us find clients, but it actually is not. So, responsibility, taking responsibility for your own progress, taking responsibility for your own clients, taking responsibility for your own sales, for your own marketing, taking responsibility for, in the future, for your own retirement, taking responsibility for every single tiny thing, right? That is the foundation. What is going to happen after we leave italki? If we have not in our minds come to realization that we're responsible for how we're going to leave italki and how we're going to find students, we will still be waiting for somebody else to do that for us. We will go on Instagram and post a post and wait for Instagram to help us out. We will go on YouTube and we will wait and try to crack the code of YouTube, waiting for YouTube to do something magical for us so that we magically reach many people that are willing and able, without building trust, without building a relationship with you, to put money into your work and buy your program or buy your even one-to-one classes, buy your courses. Right? We are going to be constantly looking for somebody to come and save us, for somebody to come and fix our situation. And this is foundational when you are moving. And that is why people are stuck in the platforms. And that's why most of the time when people are on the platforms, you will hear the language of, but I can't leave, but I'm stuck. And while there are very few, there are situations, different situations where you don't have as many options, but you still do have some options. You can continue temporarily on a platform while learning how to have your own business. Yes, it's not going to be as fast. And yes, it's going to take a little bit of your time and your money. And no, you're not going to find the answers on the surface, because if everybody could find the answers on the surface, would we all be working for italki and Preply and other places? No. So taking ownership, taking ownership. When you say, well, I don't have the time, right now, the community that I started for online language teachers that want to build their own businesses, sustainable businesses, is open. And I'm connecting with many teachers, and I hear this language of, but I can't. But I can't because I don't have the money. I can't because I don't have this. I can't because I don't have that. And everywhere, all I hear is like this, but give me some guarantee that it's going to work. Or, but I want it to be a certain way. I want this outcome, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Even finding and selling your products and services is not going to happen until we take responsibility. And that's why I'm spending almost 10 minutes talking about it. It is so important. It is super important, taking responsibility and ownership. For every little thing that I will be talking about today in this live, we need to assume that responsibility. All right. So, what do most people do when they leave the platform? What do most of us do? Well, I found 5 things, and that's what I used to do, and what I'm now working. The clients I'm working with right now, the online language teachers, this is what I hear them say. Number one, they create a website. Right? They create a website, they spend a lot of time putting into it because a website is just not just a website, right? You also have to write copy. You also have to put images. You also have to arrange stuff. You also have to, maybe set up some kind of email marketing. You have all these things. It's kind of like you start building a website and you think, oh, I'll just build a website and then but then you open this Pandora box, and it's not just building a website. It does not end there. There's a lot more skills that, and it can take you, if you're doing it on your own, can take you months, and it can take you a long, long, long time. And if in your mind you're saying, I won't start selling until I'm finished with my website, it's going to create a lot of tension for you. So that's why there is a live here, um, where I talk and share 3 tools that I would have used, what I would have told myself 10 years ago when I started, or actually 14 years ago when I started from building the website. And I actually hired someone to do that. And I spent a lot of money. And I was working, right? Still, I was having classes with my students, but most of my money went into this website, which was this huge monstrosity. And by the end it was done, I already changed my concept. And I was so frustrated because to make changes even to my website, I had to ask this person anyway. So create a website. Another thing, you feel like you need to create a logo. That can take you down the rabbit hole, especially if you are a little somewhat aesthetically designers inclined. That can take you down the rabbit hole. Number 3, what people do to like sell their programs and services after they leave italki, they spend time on social media posting and creating content. And they read that if you do that, then you're going, eventually people will find you. Well, this eventually takes way longer than you expected, right? And you spend money on social media. A lot of times people throw a ton of money into ads. That's like just, I can't even fathom that. Like you boost post without, knowing what to do. Or sometimes you just invest in advertising without knowing what will help and what not. The next one is a huge time waster, looking at other people's stuff and getting overwhelmed. You look at other people's stuff, you're feeling envy, you're feeling bad for feeling envy. Then you're managing all these feelings, and then you're getting more overwhelmed. And that, all of these things, which we don't realize because they don't lead us closer to the goal of selling our products and selling our services, but they do take a lot of our energy. And so when it comes to selling, where will you have energy to sell? Because, it's taken between creating a website, working on a logo, spending time on social media and throwing money at Facebook ads without knowing what they are and being more and more and more overwhelmed. That is a huge energy drain. And then do random stuff, have too many offers. I can offer this and I can offer this. In other words, not niching. And I think I talked about the importance of niching. And inside the library, we even have this workshop called Dare to be Different that you can join and watch it, which is very, very important. And I also teach you the self-coaching through the overwhelm, because sometimes people say, well, I'm not going to, right now I hear people, I'm not going to join your community because I'm going to be overwhelmed. Well, surprise, you're going to be overwhelmed anyway. you are going to be overwhelmed anyway. Going on YouTube is overwhelming. Googling is overwhelming. The most important thing for us is to take ownership of this overwhelm and deciding what we want to do. Maybe we need to set boundaries. Maybe we need to realize, okay, what's important? What can I invest at this point? How much time can I give to social media? So instead of doing all this stuff that probably some of you may have done, and by the way, if you may have done any of the 5 things, first of all, rest assured you're not on your own. I coach a lot of teachers, right? And I've coached hundreds over the years that I worked with. And I've seen these points did not come out from, my imagination. They first started with me, and then I saw many other teachers going through the same thing, and they never are able to sell because most of their time and energy is drained by the website and other stuff. So, what do you do instead? And how do you go about that? So, first of all, you start conversations on social media or wherever you want to build these connections. I think one of the good places, I like social media in the sense that it allows you to tell your story, but also to connect with other people. So, if you don't want to do social media, you can do podcast, right? It's a place where you will start these conversations. But when you're doing podcasts, you also want to go to other people's podcasts because you can't just stick in your own little world, in your own little bubble, and expect that people somehow magically will find you and get frustrated, which is what I used to do. How can people not find me? It's this podcast platform, it's this YouTube, it's this Google. And then you start like learning about Google Analytics and keywords and all the things that you think that you should do in order for people to find you. But really, simply speaking, in order for people to find you, you start building connections and you go to where people already are. So, for example, one of the easiest things to do is to go and join Facebook groups, right? This is where you can, and let's say not just Facebook groups for, let's say, English students. This is where you want to work smarter and you want to think about, okay, who actually is my ideal client? Because English student or the student of English or French or any other language is too broad. How do you narrow it down? How do you narrow it down? So maybe it's people that love reading. So then you want to go and join groups for readers. Maybe you like people that are writers. Maybe at this point, Facebook is not going to help you out as much. Maybe you'll go on Medium and start writing on your own account and writing for other people's publications. Somebody was asking in the comments last time, but what if I don't want to do live? Okay, you don't want to do live. That's fine. What is another strategy that you're using to get out of your immediate circle? It can be writing, it can be guest posting, it can be writing for other publications on Medium. I know inside the library, we have one of the teachers who is very successful with using Medium and just writing on other people's in other people's publications. And he started fairly recently, and he has thousands of followers and readers now. And that is quite possible. That is quite possible, but it's only possible when you go outside of your bubble. And this is where it starts getting tricky because that's when teachers like, well, but I'm, an introvert. But I don't feel comfortable. But what do I have to say? But I don't think. And this is all of these things. They are what we call mindset things. These are the things that come up as resistance. Resistance is a natural thing that comes up when we are about to do something new. When we're about to step into something new that is really, really important to us, our brain perceives it as threat because we're stepping out of the comfort zone of being and doing exactly the same thing. We stop and drop pouring our energy into trying to, keep that resistance, right? Trying to push away. Um, and we want to move towards something, but resistance is really what shows up all the time when you're trying to do something new. And that's where mindset training and self-coaching is so foundational. We offer the tools inside the Smart Teachers Library that you can join today. It's an incredible community where you can connect with others, but also use the tool to coach yourself, to get your mind into the position where you are all open to the possibility of collaborating with other people. So you start conversations. Number one, you build connections. Number two, you go where other people are, right? You go where other people are and bring something that you can give and share. So if you are on Medium, you go on other publication and share and write something of your own. If you are on YouTube, you are doing maybe lives or YouTube interviews somewhere. If you are on a podcast, you find people in your industry and go connect with them to be interviewed by them so that you can then bring part of that audience to your audience, and then they discover you and then they start following you. So it's very important to bring some value before you ask for anything, right? Let's say you are in a language exchange program and you see, okay, I can actually help these people. All right. And it's very tempting at that point to say, well, I sell XYZ. And that is maybe if your host doesn't mind that you share what you do. Always ask either the admin of your Facebook group or the host, is it okay? But don't just immediately throw like a product at people. Offer something valuable for free. It can be a free workshop, it can be a free seminar, it can be a free, class. And if you are not yet ready for groups of people to come together, you can start with free one-to-one sessions. We call them the library discovery calls. And inside the library, we actually have a um, a document, a guide that helps you focus on what it is that you want to ask, the questions, how you diagnose, quote unquote, the person in front of you, and how you really help them, and how you offer your product and your service in the most authentic way. But you can't just go in and say, hey, this is what I want to do, and buy my course. Usually that looks really scammy. And if the Facebook group does not care whether you post something like that, I can guarantee you that there's not going to be a lot of interaction. Start by engaging. Start by engaging in comments. Start by engaging in conversations. If it's a Facebook group, you can always ask a question. What are some of the problems if your niche, for example, is books and reading? What are the problems you have when you're reading books in this language, right? And then get people's ideas, hear people's language. That's super important. Learn from them. And then interact. If somebody asks a question, give your time. Obviously, you will need to set up boundaries, like how long are you going to spend on Instagram engaging with people in stories, or engaging with people on other accounts, or commenting, like how long will you be doing that? But that is something that shows to me that you have taken responsibility. When somebody comes in and says, well, I want to have clients and I don't have clients. And when I ask, okay, so what have you done? It turns out that there hasn't been done, not much has been done. And which is where the problem is. But instead, there's always like, well, it's because of this, or because of this, or because I don't know the people in a community. I don't know who I can collaborate with. It's so hard. I can't find. And before a person actually tries to do something, that's how resistance works. You try to move towards your the thing that you want so much, and the first thing that comes up is, "But I don't know, but this is going to be hard, but it's too expensive and anyway, I don't think I can do it." And so before you even move forward, you already talked yourself out of it. And this process of talking yourself out of it is really draining. The energy that you spend on talking yourself out of the things that matter to you is the energy that you can put towards so you can move towards the thing that matters to you. And the choice is always ours. And when we assume the responsibility for our business, when we say, I am the business owner, we are able to claim the energy that is drained somewhere and actually move it towards the thing that will help us achieve our goals. Um, so so we talked about, showing and giving something for free. The next thing is actually bringing people into a free event. So if you're saying, "Hey, I'm going to do an event," you need to set it up. You need to kind of think about, okay, how am I going to do this? Is it going to be a form? The easiest thing is Google Form. Very easy. You have that link and you get people to sign up, and then you have your new leads, right? And then you follow up with them and invite them to the event. Or you already have an event set up and you say, "Hey, come, here's the link, here's the information." And during that event, you talk about not just the stuff, the subject matter, right? But you also talk about your program. This is really important. Now, let's say you don't want to do the event. I get it. What can you do? What is this other thing that you do? Well, the other thing would be, you can write and you can invite people to sign up for your newsletter, right? And then in your newsletter, then you can build a relationship. And through your newsletter, you can launch a program and you can get clients, you can get subscribers into your program. You see, there's always this component of what am I willing to give up to get to what I want to do? Most of the time, we don't want to give up anything. We just want to get what we want. And that is a very infantile position. That is not a position of an adult, emotional adult. You might be an adult, obviously, we're all adults here. But emotionally, we may not be adults because we feel like the world owes us. Instagram algorithm has to always promote us. People should always share word of mouth about our services. We have this expectation that somebody or something will come and do this for us, and that's really infantile. Or when we post something once and nobody buys, or you send an email and nobody buys, and all of a sudden you're like, forget it, it's not going to work. So all of these things take emotional maturity. Whatever steps you're taking towards the dream in your business, they take emotional maturity. And the cool thing, just like you can learn a language and speak in another language, you can grow your emotional maturity through self-coaching, through looking at your thoughts, through choosing different thoughts, and by that coming up having different emotions that will fuel different actions. Because if you constantly tell yourself it's not going to work, I've tried it before, I don't have the money, guess what? You will feel apathetic and desperate in your business. You will feel fearful and anxious. And an anxious person is not going to take action, that is balanced and reasonable, that will help the person achieve the goal. An anxious person or a desperate or apathetic person is going to do stuff that is not really going to work towards this person's desired goal. Okay. And it's very important to recognize that. And I know with plethora of trainings here on YouTube, we think, oh, if only I knew X, Y, and Z, if only I knew these important things about running a business, then surely I would get my results. But at some point, it's not just the things that we know. It's also how we feel and what we think about getting results. So make offers when you have a free event or when you have a free offer, right? You want to, or free, when you contribute as a guest blogger, you want to make an offer. You want to talk about your work, right? And it has to be very specific, not like, oh, I can do whatever, right? Which means you need to make a decision. You need to make a decision that on February 1st, I'm going to run this event. Even if there's two people that show up, even if nobody shows up, I am going to be doing this and I'm committed to be doing it every 2 weeks and putting it together and putting my action, and going out there and talking about this and offering this same free event every 2 weeks until I gain traction, until I get the result. This is called, in coaching, it's called action until. There's action that you take, like throwing spaghetti on the wall. That's one type of action. There's action called action until. It's focused action that you evaluate. When you take action, you evaluate results. And by the time you get to your desired goal, you know that this is the result that you have created and you own it. So make offers is a part of this new process. If you do not tell people about yourself, if you don't tell people about in a very specific way how you can offer your value, I mean, it's very difficult for people to kind of find out. Even though many teachers tell me, well, but I have a website. And when I go and I present at a webinar, people can go and check out my website. Well, guess what? Probably not. Not everybody will. And finally, is focusing on one offer. The opposite to like offering many things. When you are in that free event, whether you're doing a webinar, a workshop, masterclass, whether you are doing a, let's see, one-to-one discovery calls, you need to decide on one offer and you need to be able to talk about it without looking on your website, without peeking into your sales page. If you have that, you don't have to have that. You can just communicate your offer, bullet points. You can have it in a Google Doc. If people say, oh, I really want to look at it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to follow up with a link to this Google Doc. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be, especially in the beginning, you don't have the budget yet for big sales pages with timers and whatnot. But you must focus on one offer and you must know it so well, and to present it without having to like look everywhere. Let me see on my website what is in it. Because sometimes I will talk to teachers, like in coaching, I said, so tell me about your product. And they're like, I can see immediately, okay, let me pull it up. And then they read their sales page, which means they don't know what their offer is, which means that when they are presenting it, they are hiding behind their website. And when you're hiding, your subconscious is kind of afraid of selling. When you're afraid of selling, you're not going to sell, okay? So we need to take a look at, okay, what are the actions that we're taking? All right, how we are taking this action and where are we arriving? So, again, 5 things to do that are super important is you start conversations. You go where people already are. You start conversations. And don't tell me that you don't like showing your face. You can do it in multiple ways. You may say, well, I don't like, being on social media. Great. There are lots of other ways that you can reach audiences, but they require discomfort. They require that you write to a publication or a person that has a blog and hear nothing from them. And that is probably one of the reasons why you're not writing to them, because of this fear of rejection. We resist to take action towards the dream that we have because of this fear of rejection. Sometimes we don't post if we are on social media because we're afraid that we will be rejected, that people will not like our post or they will not comment on our post. And that almost feels like so unsurmountable. It's like the end of the world, but it's not. It's not. And you can survive when people reject you. When people say no, you can survive. So you go to where people are and you connect with them, right? And offer something for free. Offer something for free. Always give before you ask. You can connect. You can ask questions on social media. You can create maybe you may write some essays and ask people, invite people to sign up to your newsletter, etc. But don't tell me that now if writing, if you're like, okay, I'm going to write, but first I need to go and learn how to write. No, you learn how to write in the process. Um, and you already know and have enough to get started. You can work on improving your skills once you start making offer and get clients so that you invest a little bit in your business again. Bring people to your free event and offer value and make offers in that event. Well, I should say make one offer, which is the next point. Choose one thing, how you are going to help people. So there's obviously here a lot of things to think about, right? But most of the time, the issue is feeling like you are stuck where you are. You're not. You have options. You're not stuck on Preply. You're not stuck on italki. You're not stuck on Verbling. You may be on there because at the moment, this is what helps you pay the bills. But what are you using with the surplus? Or how are you using the rest of the time? Or what are you doing for yourself? This is where your responsibility is. Nobody else's. I mean, I know a lot of people want to, start fighting big corporations and tell how big corporations take 30% off of their charge per hour, but yet they won't leave because it's hard to take responsibility. So you assume responsibility, and when you start building your own business and start walking out there, it's important to change the way you think about yourself, your business, about your possibilities and options. There's nothing that you can learn that will be a magic answer to anything. Everything needs to be tested. Everything needs to be tried out and evaluated. So the first thing, of course, then is working on this mindset. And inside our Smart Teachers Library, we have tools that help you with that. If you use these tools for just 2 weeks consecutively, you will feel the difference in how you think. You start noticing how you think, your thinking patterns changing, and your emotions change. Once you stop staying in the emotion of fear and anxiety and apathy all the time and move towards courage and curiosity, which are more productive emotions, you will find yourself being unstoppable. And all this energy that you used to use to fight anxiety, you are now going to pour into your business, into making sure that you have that money to invest in your business, making sure that you have those new clients and build connections instead of saying, well, I wrote and nobody answered. And then the second component is connections, is going where there is already community. And in the Smart Teachers Library, there are people that already have their own assets. They have their YouTube channels. They may not be big, but they have their own YouTube channels. They have their own podcasts. They are on social media somewhere. And if you go and collaborate with them, they're on Medium. If you collaborate with them or ask them, you will be able to get answers, and much faster than you would through YouTube or Google, right? And offers, like what is it about your offer that is not working? Sometimes the stuff that you offer actually is not working because it's not either sustainable or you're asking too much. And I'm not just talking here price, but you're asking too much in terms of commitment, and people are not ready to do that. And in the library, we have materials on coaching, we have materials on strategy, we have a Monday through Friday forum where you can ask me any very specific questions that you have. We have sales calls every other month where you learn how to sell and how to talk about your offer, and I help you by guiding you how to do that, reframing how you can do that. Right? There is a group coaching call where we follow a curriculum, and this month we were focusing on expanding, right? Expanding your reach. And next month we're talking about making clients and making offers, bringing clients, creating clients, and making offers because you're the one responsible for it. We assume responsibility. There is, for people that are joining, 2 weeks of self-coaching challenge. We're going to be doing it for 2 weeks, and I will show you how to use the tools that will absolutely change your life. They changed my life when my business was plateauing, and the things that before that used to take me years to overcome because of resistance, they are now taking me much less because I'm able to see, oh, there's resistance. There's my fear of rejection. Here's what I can do about it. I hope to see you in the library. If not, I am here. You can ask me questions. I want you to think as we close off today that not only taking action has a price, right? Taking action means, let's say, joining the library means finding resources, making time, overcoming some of your own fears, and overcoming some of your own insecurities. That is the price to pay for the action of moving towards your dream. But the actions you take to stay exactly where you are and not move towards your dream also have a huge price. Anxiety drains us. We feel dissatisfied with ourselves. The inner critic and tyrant keep telling us that nothing is going to work the way we want it to work. We feel more and more desperate, and we start fighting all these doubts just to keep ourselves afloat. That is the price. That is the price. There is a price of not making the decision. And of course, the greatest price of not making the decision of moving towards your dream is staying exactly where you are and putting your dream on the back burner. Do not do that. The library is open right now. It won't open until the end of the year. Think how much you could do between now and the next time it opens in September or October. Think about it, how much you can already accomplish. And I hope you join us. There is information how to join in the description. I'm looking forward to connecting with you there. And I will see you next Friday. If you have questions, please drop them in the comments. If you just have some things or thoughts that came to you, I would love to hear them and interact with you in the comments. We had some really good interaction going last time. I hope to continue with that. Have a lovely weekend, and wherever you are, stay warm or stay cool. Stay dry if it's just as rainy as it is where I am today. And until next week. Thank you. Thank you, Odd. Thank you for being here.